Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Mexican American Veterans Association podcast, also known as the MAVA Podcast. I'll be your host today, Dylan Jimenez, and I'm joined by a very special guest. People around Wichita Falls know him as Councilor Battaglino, but today he's taking off that cap, and he is veteran Mike Battaglino. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I appreciate the opportunity to be on here.
Yeah, no problem. So, Mike, I know obviously, you do a lot in the community, as a counselor. I know election cycle's coming up to where you'll be running again, too, for that. But talk about how you got here to Wichita Falls. What's your story in landing here in North Texas?
My story getting to Wichita Falls. So, joined the Air Force in 2005 from Avon, Connecticut. And after going to basic military training in San Antonio, came up to Sheppard Air Force Base for F-15 tactical aircraft maintenance training, more commonly known as crew chief training. So became an F-15 crew chief, got stationed at RAF Lakenheath, United Kingdom, and over the course of the next 4 years, went all over the world on different TDYs and deployments, working on F-15s. It was awesome. Working on F-15s was a blast. Then I became a non-commissioned officer, so I became a staff sergeant, and I had always wanted to teach my whole life. So I went online, and I clicked the button, and they picked me up. 2009, I moved to Wichita Falls to Sheppard Air Force Base, and from 2009 to 2013, I taught F-15 crew chiefs. Mm-hmm. And then when the opportunity came up I separated from active duty so that I could remain in Wichita Falls. I took a civil service position. I actually finished my active duty service commitment on a Saturday, started as a civil servant on a Sunday, and taught KC-135s for the next several years. Wow. And I've done a number of different jobs on Sheppard Air Force Base because I'm currently still a Department of the Air Force civilian. But really it was becoming a crew chief here at Sheppard, going to England, and coming back to teach. That's what got me here.
Wow. So you were born and raised in Connecticut before you went
Born and raised in Connecticut.
Was that Lackland whenever you went to San Antonio?
Mm-hmm, it was. Right. It was Lackland Air Force Base.
So that was kind of like what, your basic training and stuff like that? Or?
Gateway to the Air Force, basic training.
So talk about your time there before you came to Wichita Falls. What was your basic training like whenever you were in San Antonio?
Oh, gosh, basic training. I don't know that, I didn't play football, so I don't think I'd ever been yelled at quite like that. So that was interesting. But I'll tell you that having attention to detail and then also embodying patriotism and just understanding service and embodying the core values of integrity first, service for self, and excellence in all we do, that really, I feel very inspired. Maybe a little beaten down from the being yelled at all the time. But I felt very inspired leaving Lackland and coming up to Sheppard and then becoming an aircraft maintainer, becoming a crew chief. It was just unlike anything I had ever done before in my life. And then leaving Texas and going to England, talk about just a totally different world.
The culture shock, kind of?
Absolutely. But it was just such at 19 years old, I didn't fully appreciate what an amazing experience that was. Mm-hmm. So to go from England to Germany to Qatar to Afghanistan, just all over the place, Romania, Israel. I got to see the world at such a young age, and I got to see how important what the United States Air Force does globally. Just to be a part of that was something really special. And at the time, you're just kind of you're living it and you appreciate it. But it's the the hindsight is 20/20. You look back and then you're like, wow, I can't believe that was my life. Mm-hmm. And very, very fortunate and blessed to have been able to do it.
So I'll backtrack here a little bit more for you, but what drove you to want to serve this country? What drove you to want to be part of the Air Force?
So my grandfather served in the Navy during World War II, and my father served in the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War. And after I finished high school, I wasn't an awesome student. I was a pretty good student. I just didn't try super hard. The stuff that I really enjoyed, English, did very well at. Math, I passed, but I wasn't super into it.
Oh, I 100% understand that.
My GPA reflected that. So didn't really have an opportunity for scholarships. We didn't have enough money to send me to school. So sitting down with my dad one day, I remember this kitchen table conversation, and he was always very blunt with me. He goes, what are you going to do with your life? And I'm like, I should probably join the military, continue the service that you and your dad started. And he goes, yeah, well, you're not joining the Army, so you can join the Air Force. because he knew that the Air Force would afford me more schooling opportunities. He knew there was college associated with it. He goes, Mike, you got to go to school. And my dad at the time goes, you go to basic training, you go to school, eventually you just become an officer. The path was a little bit different then in 2005 than it had been in the late 60s when he went in. So I went to the recruiter. I had to be the easiest recruit that month because I walked in and he's like, oh, here's the Air Force. He's recruit. I'm like, where do I sign? And he goes, what do you want to do? I'm like, whatever. Like, I'm good. I want to serve. I want to serve my country.
Just put me somewhere.
Put me somewhere. And he goes, okay, I can have you off in 3 weeks. Okay, sounds good. Went home, told my mom, lots of crying because I didn't tell her. And my dad was like, come on. He's got to do something with his life. He was right. But I ended up getting in the delayed enlistment program because they didn't have a slot for me yet. So I ended up leaving in March of 2005.
Oh, wow, 2005. And so from there, like you said, Lackland. And so how long were you at Lackland before you came up here?
Just about 10 weeks.
Okay.
I ended up developing pneumonia. Not fun. So I was in basic for a couple extra weeks, and then I came up to Sheppard.
So you don't recommend pneumonia?
I do not recommend pneumonia. No. 10 out of 10 do not recommend. And
so was it from here whenever you talked about how you went abroad, and so can you talk about some of those experiences, what a little bit more in depth of what you did, when you said you went to, was it Britain, Germany, and all those things?
So I think probably the most unique places that I had the opportunity to go to was, I was able to go to Romania before they became NATO members. So that was really cool to be a part of that. And to see how they were developing their own Air Force, and then to bring our aircraft there was just an awesome opportunity. And then to go to Israel and to spend some time alongside the IDF and to see, the individuals in that country. I mean, they have to go in the military upon becoming adults. So getting to interact with some of those individuals a little bit, and then learning about the Israeli Defense Force. I mean, that is a passionate military, and they have a precision Air Force, and they flew a lot of F-15s. So seeing their F-15s, seeing how they were maintained, what an incredible opportunity. Then I got to go to Jerusalem. I mean, once in a lifetime.
Right.
But probably the most transformative experiences for me were my deployments to Qatar and Afghanistan. So I deployed to Qatar in support of Operation Enduring Freedom in 2006. So to go there and to see our aircraft, just go out and really either provide close air support or take out the enemy. I mean, that was you grow to appreciate how important what you do is to national security.
Sure.
But also, that pilot and that weapons system officer and that F-15 entrust their life with you. So, I mean, there were, maybe not every night was sleepless, but there were some sleepless nights just making sure, I did everything, by the book to the best of my ability. I just want them to come home safely.
Right.
That's all every crew chief wants, right? To send the aircraft out, for the pilot and the wizzo to come back safely, and then to keep that aircraft in the air. So, Qatar was really where I embodied becoming an airman probably more than I had ever had before even. And, from there, I just wanted to master my craft. I just wanted to be the best crew chief. And not a great mechanic, not great. Became an okay mechanic.
Right.
But wanted to be the best airman that I could possibly be. So, wanted to understand the aircraft and its operation to the best of my ability. Wanted to help train other people. Wanted to make sure that I could get involved in as many processes and procedures as I could to just help out the unit wherever I could. That was awesome. And then to go to Afghanistan, and that was much closer to the fight, but also to see some of the Army soldiers that would come check out our aircraft, and they'd walk around the plane, and I have this vivid memory. I have a couple of vivid memories from Afghanistan, but this non-commissioned officer taking his privates around our aircraft, and he was just so, obviously he was leading, and I'm sure he was, hard on him when he needed to be, but he cared about them so much, and he's like, this is the aircraft that provides close air support, and these are the people that take care of it. And it was just this moment where you're like, wow, like, you know, you feel how important, and you're so proud and grateful for the opportunity to do what you do.
Right.
So there was that, and then also we had fallen comrade ceremonies, so which were hard. So we would go out to the edge of the runway, and the cargo aircraft would fly in with a casket draped with the U.S. flag on it.
Right.
And they would carry, individual that had lost their life in support of their country, right? And they would carry them off the aircraft, and they would transfer them to another aircraft, and they would, prepare that individual to go back to the States, to Dover Air Force Base. And we would all salute the aircraft in the casket as the casket was coming off. And that was just sobering, I mean, for lack of a better term. You really appreciate, again, how important what you do is, but just the profound sacrifice that so many people made during those conflicts over that 20-year period. Things you never forget. You can't replicate that experience by doing anything else.
No, right, 100%. Yeah, no, and again, seeing that and hearing your story, Mike, thank you for your service. Especially behalf of, I'm speaking for MAVA too on that too. I want to go back. You talked about your time in Romania before they had joined NATO. So, can you go a little bit more in depth about that? Was that kind of more of like the teaching of building their military? What was that like?
I'll tell you, all I really remember was, I worked in the evenings, and we didn't have a ton of interaction with the Romanian Air Force. They were flying with us, but that was, my deepest memories of Romania are driving a stick shift through Romania, which I couldn't drive a standard, so you can imagine how that went. So that was a great experience, but also there was a really hard troubleshooting issue that we had on one of our aircraft when I was out there. So this particular aircraft just started having issues with the flight control, so it had issues with its rudder. So I replaced it, and I was the most senior person on the shift, but I wasn't the most senior person on the TDY. So I was trying to get it rigged perfectly, right? So I was trying to make sure that the cables were to the appropriate tension, and I had the flight control rods were rigged to the correct specifications. So I'm trying to get it, and I just cannot get it right. And I feel like, gosh, am I really cut out for this? So I tried until my 12-hour mark, because that's kind of your at that point, you don't want to be working much more than 12 hours unless you're like in combat. Like you don't need to be working more than 12 hours, because it's hard to maintain an aircraft when you're half asleep. I mean, that's not safe.
I barely want to work 8 in a day. So.
Right. So yeah, you're past 12 hours and you're like, gosh, I can't even read this text. So I shut it down for the night. I wrote it in my turnover log, and I came home to my roommate, and I said, hey, I nudged him, and he was a lot more senior than me. And I said, hey, I can't figure out this rudder. Like, I'm trying, but I can't figure it out. And this is probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. He goes, all right, I'll figure it out. So he gets up a couple hours later, goes to work. And I'm thinking the whole morning before I went in, I'm like, gosh, did I do this right? Did I do this right? And thinking that I just must have messed something up. So I go in, they've got everything torn apart. They're like, no, you were not wrong. This was messed up. This was messed up. This, okay, all right. And I felt much better. So what you don't want to happen is significant issues like that to happen while you're out away from your home unit, because you don't have as easy access to parts. You don't have as many people. So of course, when it's significant issues like that happen, Murphy's Law, they happen when you don't need them to. So those were probably the most interesting experiences that I had in Romania.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, wow. I mean, and tell me again, you got in at 2005, right? And so when was your last year? Whenever you stepped out of all this.
So let's see. So 2013, I decided to separate from active duty, and it was a hard decision. I mean, up until that point in my life, the hardest decision that I had ever had to make was to separate from something that I've been doing very passionately for the past 8 years. And I think it was a lot of it was predicated on my wife is from Burke, so Crystal is from Burke, and we made a decision together. She goes, look, you're potentially about to go to Korea. Like, I'm not sure if I want to move around the world. I kind of want to stay here, raise our family with her parents. Her parents are in Burke. So I said, gosh, I don't know what to do. I had an exceptional mentor. He goes, Mike, you've got your master instructor. You have this certification. You got your master's degree. All you've got to do is separate from active duty. You buy your time back towards your retirement, and you just start a civil service career, and you start teaching out here. So I did exactly that. I started teaching KC-135s in the same squadron. So I had worked on fighter aircraft, but I started teaching heavy aircraft. I love the KC-135. I wish I had got to work it operationally. It's an amazing aircraft. But I was able to do that because I had my education, I had my teaching experience, and I had a mentor that had faith in me and showed me the way.
Right. And so you talked about the KC-135.
KC-135.
I don't say that every day like you do probably. So but what was it you said again that you were I guess flying or working with whenever you did your time? Was it F-15?
So when I was working mostly on F-15E Strike Eagles.
Okay. So what's the difference with all of that for somebody like me who might
fighter aircraft, so the F-15E specifically, much faster, and also just as a different mission set. You're not doing a ton of air to air. You're doing a fair amount of air to ground because it can carry quite a sufficient amount of munitions. So doing some blown up of bad people, and then while it's up there, the F-15 burns a ton of gas, so it needs to be refueled. So you've got a tanker like the KC-135. KC-135 is staying airborne as long as it still has gas, and just giving aircraft air-to-air refueling for an F-15.
Gotcha. Okay.
Keeping it up there. So we actually, when I was in Qatar, because of the particular mission that they were on, my aircraft, I launched it out. I went home for 12 hours. I came back and I caught the aircraft. I recovered it. They were up for somewhere between 16 or 17 hours because they couldn't get anyone in for close air support. So it's just circling around, protecting these guys on the ground, just catching fuel from a 135.
Wow.
And I was actually fortunate enough, I was able to fly, I'm trying to think of what trip that was on, but I was in a 135 while I was still on active duty, and I got to watch them refuel my aircraft. So I watched my plane come up, get fuel, and then fall back and keep flying. That was cool.
Wow, awesome. Yeah. So was, like you said, you're teaching that now, correct? The C-135, did I get that right?
So I taught KC-135s from, that would be from 13 to 16 I taught that.
And so was there a bit of a learning curve there? Because obviously it's two different crafts. So like, how was that for you, switching gears a little bit for you?
A little bit, but really, it's not quite a plane's a plane. But the basic maintenance of an aircraft, there are a lot of similarities, like changing wheel brake and tire assemblies,
sure.
Servicing hydraulic fluids, servicing nitrogen on a shock strut. Those are very similar across aircraft.
Sure.
As you get more complex with things like F-22s and F-35s, it becomes a little more specialized. But F-15 to 135 is no problem.
Right, gotcha. And so I know a big thing whenever I invited you to come on the podcast, one thing that you wanted to talk about was, life after service. And so you kind of touched on it a little bit too, whenever you your wife had told you about, potentially going to Korea, not sure, if she wants to do that. Right. So kind of kept you here. So what was that transition like, I guess, going back from serving to a little bit of a civilian life? How was that transition for you?
So for me, it wasn't much different other than not being told I needed to move every couple of years, and then not having to do certain, pre-deployment activities or deploying. I didn't have to do those sorts of things. So I had more choice in if and when I took certain assignments. But really, other than not wearing a uniform and growing a beard, I didn't feel any different. So, before the suits started coming out every day, I was just wearing, Carhartt every day. That was my new uniform. And I did that for the next few years while I taught. So I I didn't feel much different, and I was very fortunate in that, when I became a civilian, there were a lot of non-commissioned officers that were coming in sort of in the same season of their career that I had first come to Sheppard. So, I had completed my two enlistments on active duty, and then here are some other individuals coming in at about that 8 to 10 year mark, and I was able to say, hey, here's kind of the path if you ever want to come back as a civilian, and a lot of those guys have come back. Here, I challenged them, the individuals I became really close with. I was like, go to school and leave here with another stripe on your arm. Those are two things very much in the realm of possible if you work hard. And I was very grateful to be a part of that, and a lot of them became lifelong friends. Wow. So for me, it was an easier transition because I went into the same unit. I knew some of the same people already. So for me, it was a little bit easier.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I know, obviously you're a big advocate, for that too, life after service,
Mm-hmm.
Especially for those who could be dealing with, mental health.
Oh yeah.
Because I know you're involved with the troop here at Backdoor Theater, the improv with the members and everything. So
the tactical jokers.
There we go, the tactical jokers. I like that a lot.
That's why I'm not going. The only reason I'm not going to the MAVA banquet. So I had already committed to being a part of that improv troupe. Mm-hmm. So Backdoor Theater got a grant for hosting this veteran specific improv troupe, and that's that's what they've used the funds for. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at probably 5 to 8 people on stage on November 8th that evening. Oh, wow. It's going to be awesome. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a blast. We've been rehearsing every other week. We've actually got our last rehearsal this weekend. Mm-hmm. Improv is fun.
So what have you seen from those other veterans that you're with, when it comes to them, I guess, disconnecting a little bit and, being a part of something like that?
It's funny you say that word. You say disconnecting? Mm-hmm. So I would say the hardest part of transition from military to civilian life seems to be a desire to remain connected to something greater than yourself. So when you're in uniform, I certainly for myself, I took it for granted that I put on the uniform and I felt purpose almost immediately because I look at my U.S. Air Force name tape and I go, okay, like I'm doing something very meaningful with my life. But you separate from active duty and you go, what is my purpose? Now, I'm grateful that I stepped into that civil service role immediately. I was right back in the military environment, but for a lot of veterans as they get out, they're not going to work and seeing the same people anymore. They don't have anyone telling them, commander telling them, like, this is what the mission and vision of our organization is. This is why we're here. They don't have the same number of people looking out for them. They've lost, a lot of times they're comrades, right? They're brothers and sisters in arms. So there can be a sense of loss and a desire to belong to something else, and that's why veteran service organizations like MAVA, like the DAV, like the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Texas American Veterans Association, or Texas Association for Vietnam Veterans. Okay. TAVV. It's a harder acronym. But all those organizations and why they're so important in the community is because you already have a pool of individuals that are compelled to serve, right? Like they have that on their heart that, you don't take off the uniform and go like, oh, I don't want to help anyone or have any purpose anymore. Like they still, that is still within them. Right. So capitalizing on that for their own ability to flourish, and then also to have a strong military community, because look at Wichita Falls.
100%.
Spin around, put your arms out, spin around. There's a veteran. There's a veteran.
Exactly.
So huge veteran community, huge military community, obviously because of Sheppard Air Force Base. But that's the gap that I see these veteran service organizations filling, that we need to fill, because we have individuals that want to continue to serve in a different capacity, and in an important capacity, and we gotta get them plugged in.
Right.
Gotta get them plugged in.
You talked about still being or still having that purpose. So obviously in your words, but what do you think your purpose is? Because you're still teaching, and you're obviously serving the community of Wichita Falls, as a council member of District 4. But what do you feel like your purpose is? Because you're still serving,
Right.
but just not in the capacity that you were, like you were Romania, Qatar, Germany, and everything.
So I've been very fortunate that, I'm looking at an open door right now, right? That I have aligned myself with individuals and built relationships with people that have helped open doors to opportunities that have filled me with purpose. So whether it be, the individual that helped me start my civil service career, the individual that helped me first point me towards getting aligned with maybe joining council. If you peel it back, I'm grateful and I'm humbled by the opportunities that have been afforded to me, by the experiences and the education that I've been blessed to have, and my desire is to use that to make other people's lives better, right? So whether that's in a veteran service organization, getting people like, hey, like this is like, come hang out with some like-minded folks, make some jokes, eat some food, and fellowship.
Sure.
Whether it's, continuing to serve in civil service and realizing that, we're still preparing the next generation of aircraft maintainers and engineers on Sheppard Air Force Base, right? So being a part of that and being able to enable other people's success, because like that door that I mentioned, I've been fortunate to have other people help me through those doors, right? Yeah. But now I feel responsible to take some of the gifts that I've been given and open doors for other people, right? So whenever I see someone that I'm like, have you ever considered this? Oh, I don't even know where. Like, how would I even start? How would I ever get involved in the veterans organization? Okay, let me help you out with that. Gosh, how would I ever become a civil servant after my military career? Let me help you out with that. How would I ever I don't know how to get involved with the city. How do you get involved like a city council thing? Here's an application for a Wichita Falls board. All you do is fill out this one page and tell them why you want to be on it. Because sometimes there are not a whole lot of applicants.
Which I know that too, for sure.
Right. I mean, I first got involved by applying for the Parks Board. And that's where I met. I went through the Wichita Falls Citizens Academy in the beginning of 2022. And then right after that, I went through with Councilor Taylor. And then right after that, we both joined the Parks Board. And the rest is kind of history.
Yeah. So you feel like you yourself, you're helping bridge some gaps, for some of these veterans too.
I think so. I mean, really just anyone that I can help. Right. If I feel like I feel compelled to serve always, and if I can help someone, right, with whatever, I'm very grateful for the energy and the desire to just help people. Like I don't know why I have it, but I'm just like that since I was a kid. And to be able to use either a position or an opportunity that I've been afforded to help other people, I mean, it's awesome. Like for, when you have an issue on the circle trail and you're able to help point it out and go, hey, can we get this fixed? And then they take care of it.
Right.
The individual that has a pothole in front of their house that they didn't know who to call. They happened to come to one of my town halls. Oh, we'll get that pothole fixed. Yeah. So it's no longer a safety issue. Sometimes it's just people don't know who to call. So when I see the opportunity to open a door for someone else, I'm just going to do it.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just going to do it.
Well, that's awesome. And so sitting here, I mean, Mike, we've had a great conversation. I've obviously kind of put on my journalist hat a little bit. I've known you, as from that standpoint, as a counselor and everything, but looking back, kind of reflecting and learning more about you, knowing who you are, and in your service and everything, what do you kind of reflect on? You kind of mentioned too how, as a kid you didn't expect yourself to travel the world like you did. You didn't embrace it as much as you wish. But what do you kind of reflect on now? Sitting here and talking about this again.
I would say that the common thread through everything is really just. I mean, I always have a deep desire to make sure whatever the mission is of an organization that I'm a part of, that we we get it done. We execute it, right? Whether that be what I do on base, whether that's City Council, whether that's these veteran service organizations, but just being very people focused the entire time has helped me to a great deal of success, because ultimately you can't do it all yourself. Mm-hmm. So, but when you empower other individuals, or when you help them succeed, I mean, rising tide lifts all ships. Mm-hmm. So I'm fortunate that I've had great leaders in my life that both modeled and explained their leadership philosophy, and then I also love to read. So learning from great leaders in history and going like, okay, like I'll try that. I mean, it's amazing, like How to Win Friends and Influence People, written in the late 20s, early 30s, still very, very relevant today. Mm-hmm. But to your original question, I think the theme is that taking care of people is my passion and gives me a great deal of purpose. And I love doing it individually, but when I'm able to do it at scale, mm-hmm. and make lots of people's lives better, mm-hmm. Not only does that feel good, but that allows them to then help other people. Mm-hmm. So right when you move up Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you look at people that are able to, I think they redid it, and it's now, they have self-actualization and transcendence. Mm-hmm. Okay, at the top of Maslow's hierarchy. Sure. Now, mm-hmm. But when you're able to help people move up that hierarchy, they are then able to help other people, and it's it just that kindness and that goodness and putting that out into the world. We need a lot more of that. So I'm grateful to be a part of many positive things and movements, mm-hmm. And as much as I can project that and help other people, I want to do it.
Well, awesome, and obviously doing a little bit too right now with the instructor still at base.
I'm basically like I don't do as much teaching, right? So I have a team of individuals that teach the teachers. So that's our mission, is to the new individuals that come to the installation. They come through our courses to then become teachers.
Gotcha.
So we're teaching teachers.
Teaching teachers. Wow, teaching teachers. Man, that's like teaching a teacher in college to become a teacher, right? Something like that.
Very, very, very similar to that.
So you think right now, if your name was called, you'd be ready to go out and still fight for this country?
Oh, I'm ready to do whatever you need me to do. Absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing I wouldn't do for that flag.
Right.
Nothing. And there's nothing that I wouldn't do for my brothers and sisters in arms. Nothing.
Right.
Nothing. I raised my right hand. I still raise my right hand.
All right. Well, perfect. Well, Mike, again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast with us. We've had like 6-7 of these already, so you're like the 7th or 8th one at this already. So glad to have you on, hear about your service, and just learn about you a little bit more too. Some things that I did not know about, in your experience of serving with the Air Force. But really do appreciate you having you on.
Got it. No, I'm grateful for the opportunity. Anytime.
Yeah, perfect. Is there anything else you want to talk about really quick, or do you think we kind of hit it all?
I think we kind of hit it all. Yeah. I'll close it out with I love this city.
I know you do. Well, thanks so much, Mike, and thank you for watching. And as always, leaving you with this last quote as we close it out. Ask yourself, what have you done for your country lately? Thank you so much.